Oh shit, is there a whole lock nut? I just unspooled my locks from the ropes that I had for the last couple of weeks. So they're nice and crinkly. Scalp's a little ashy, but you know, it's like that sometimes. But let's talk about it. Let's actually grab the microphone. This is the wrong damn script. So being fake famous on the internet means that people will say really mean things to you as a joke, or just to be mean. Actually, sometimes they're not playing at all. They just want to ruin your day. And one thing I got in the last couple of weeks a lot, because this one video of mine that Drake clip keeps going viral, is that I look like every black GameStop employee ever. And I didn't appreciate it. I don't appreciate that. However, y'all might have a point. In fact, as mean as that joke is, I think it does get into an interesting thing I've thought a lot about ever since getting on YouTube, which is like, everyone likes to think they're special. We're all special little snowflakes or one of a kind. But the truth is, all of us, especially me, I'm very much a type of guy on the internet. You may think I'm lying and that I'm only talking about, like, you know, Lil Bill, Foreman, Foreign Land, the Turb or whatever, the type of men that I engage with a lot on this platform. And that's kind of it, but it actually gets deeper. Like, specifically the aesthetic I'm appealing to is definitely something that's becoming more prominent and popular. If you don't believe me, meet T1J, Carr, Conscious Lee, Wooly Versus, Tasty Steve. And then there's like 3 or 4 guys on TikTok who basically look just like this, just like me. I don't remember all their names. One of them is Professor Odie. Shout out to Odie. But you know, you've seen them. You've seen this before. The only thing that makes me different from some others is that, like, I have what are called fashion locks, which is, you know, dreadlocks that are more orderly and curated, and you can put various styles in them. I've only really worn 2 styles most of my time with locks because I don't like the rest of them. And then there's people that have more traditional, what are called freeform locks, which are more popularized in the South and the Caribbean. This is often what people associate with Rastafarianism, although everyone with freeform locks isn't a Rastafarian. And this shouldn't be confused with Wicks, which is kind of a combination of the two. It gets a little deep, but this isn't the hair channel. Don't get me wrong, I really love and appreciate the success that I've had on YouTube. I think it's amazing I've gotten a voice and a persona that people respect in all these different serious ways. And I don't want to like jeopardize all that at all, but I want everybody to understand I am a huge nerd. And like, that's probably who I am at my core before anything else. The point I'm getting at is that I have clones everywhere. A few weeks ago, people kept sending me this clip of this random dude walking backwards on an escalator saying, FD, is that you? No, that's not me. And not all of us look alike. However, this nigga does look a little bit like me. I'm not gonna front. Even physically, like his size and shape probably is similar to my own. So what is happening here? Is the dad bod, patchy beard, dreadlock combo the new meta for black men? Is there a secret CIA plot to saturate the black community with soft boy intellectuals? No, it's much simpler. Black nerds are kind of having a moment. So what follows here is my own armchair half-baked theory on this aesthetic. This was not done in tandem with any empirical research or hardcore data. This is a hot take informed by experience and observation. I reserve the right to be wrong and corrected in the comment section. Can't wait to hear other people's theories. There's my disclaimer. Let's talk about culture moments like the one I think we're having for a second. See, way back in my first video about black masculinity, a really poorly, oh my God, am I recording? Ah, thank God. That is the mania of content creation. You won't believe. I know I'm not the only person making videos on this goddamn platform that records half a video only to realize they didn't actually press record. Anyway, way back in my first video about black masculinity, which was not a great like produced video, so if you go back to watch it, just watch at your own risk. I talk about how historically black men in the media eye have existed in a binary of sorts. At the time, I basically said there are 2 types of black men you see on TV and in the movies. Black leading men, pretty much, you know, any Denzel Washington character from my era, or the types of characters that the late Chadwick Boseman played in his heyday. And then there's also like F-boy trickster characters like Martin Lawrence played these characters, Terrence Howard often plays these types of characters, etc. And then there was an the absence of a lot of in-between images for black men on TV, and this is for a lot of reasons. But the thing I want to get to here is that I was amiss in pointing out that black nerds at the same time have always been present in black media, probably into the 2010s. That may surprise you, but if you think about black media, you'll realize that black nerds have always had prominent roles. You can go back to Raj on What's Happening, Dwayne Wayne on A Different World, Carlton Banks on Fresh Prince, and even like, you know, the mini clones of Steve Urkel that we see in cartoon form. It's actually a surprising fact when you realize the range of some of these characters that had in their media. These weren't just caricatures of what it means to be a nerd. Sometimes they were, but Carlton is one of the most complex, beloved characters of all time. And Dwayne Wayne on A Different World is like an icon of black nerds, and that he had this like growth and glow up throughout the series and even got the girl at the end. And even in hip hop with groups like PM Dawn, De La Soul, Arrested Development, Kid and Play, you saw nerdy black men all the time. It wasn't always flattering, it wasn't always good, but we were culturally integrated into the fabric of black media and media as a whole. And then, as I've said on multiple occasions when tracking black pop culture, gangster rap happened. To be clear though, gangster rap was always happening in the background since the mid 80s, but by the mid 90s it came to dominate the image of what black men were supposed to be in visible pop culture in various ways. There's a lot of effects to that shift that I'll talk about in other content, but specifically here for black nerdy men, it kind of slowly deleted us from the picture, and that had an effect on the ways in which black nerds began to try to show up in the real world. So to be clear, black nerds never really dressed like Steve Urkel, but again, Dwayne Wayne and Carlton Banks kind of there. Like, there was some images there that definitely appealed to a lot of black male nerds, but with them gone, there was a big gap in terms of like what you wanted to look like as a black man, especially if you were a black nerd, and you really knew that you couldn't pull off what DMX was doing. Furthermore on that, despite the way some black nerds act and behave online, the vast majority of black nerds are not anti-black, at least not any more than any other black subgroup. It's not always easy being a black nerd then and now. There's definitely like a there that I'll maybe get to eventually. But most black nerds were not apart from black spaces. Black folks aren't necessarily more likely to be nerds if they grow up around white people. So while some aesthetics are different, I don't think there's an intrinsic desire for black nerds to not be seen as black. Many black nerds are from the same communities that the alleged YNs are from. In fact, if you know YNs for real, you know a lot of them niggas is nerds. Remind me to circle back to the YN topic. I forgot about that one. We have some discussions to have around that. So when we're talking about black male nerd aesthetics, there's a few interesting things happening. First and foremost, let's just keep it real. Most black nerds don't look like black male models. Even the ones that do have the body or bone structure to, you know, have the typical image of black male desirability, maybe a Xavier Woods or a Michael B. Jordan, they'll still play around with different aesthetics that aren't always what black men traditionally engage in. This is for a couple of reasons. Number one, let's be real, the average black nerd is a 7 at best, so you're not trying to put yourself in a position to be compared to, I don't know, Denzel Washington or Idris Elba or whoever. You're not going to try to dress like them because you'll never look like them. There's not a lot of black dudes that look like Aldous Hodge that can also tell you what a stand user is. And this is not to say that some black nerds don't embody traditionally black masculine spaces or roles. See, again, Michael B. Jordan or all-pro running back Jamal Williams. Vin Diesel is a huge dork. But you're highly unlikely to be a black nerd and have a face like Tyler Lepley. Okay, so what's a black nerd to do? You operate in the paradigm that you're actually in, and that's where I think this look comes from. It's a space between the traditional aesthetics that people appreciate in black men, but with a nerdier twist. You're doing the best you can with what you have. For me, example, I have a big, funny shaped head and a really bad hairline. Like, my shit has always started way back here since I was a kid. Here's a photo. So growing up, I could never rock the popular haircuts that black men were rocking. I never really had a fade. I never really tried cornrows. None of it really worked for me. So I actually wanted to grow locks way back in like the mid 90s when almost nobody had them because I felt like that was my best bet, but I didn't know how to do it. So I just started shaving my head. So I was one of the people rocking the onyx due to knowledge. Black nerds are still participating in the imagery and aesthetics that that blackness provides, but in a way that is still informed with our nerdy personas. And so if you feel like your looks are kind of mid as a black man, growing locks like Lil Wayne had from 15 years ago or Playboy Carter today might be something that levels you up a bit in the dating market. Get you that anime shirt from Hot Topic. Wear lots of black, but also be adventurous with a lot of other colors. Wear those gloves. I saw that one girl on TikTok talking about these gloves right here. They seem to be a major key. Just don't get that weird hentai hoodie. I don't know, maybe that's bad advice. That might just be me as an old head. That gives real hard, scaring the maidens energy, but you know, to each their own. Take this with a grain of salt. What I'm getting at is that there are definitely women who are attracted to black male nerds. Black women, I might add, since that also seems to be a thing people don't understand. And it's not likely that those women are looking for Kofi Siriboe. Hell, if y'all would listen to me more, you'd realize that while Kofi Siriboe is definitely an extremely attractive man, women don't really require that from you. Like, you're better off, instead of trying to look like Kofi Siriboe, if that's not something you're not just genetically predispositioned to look like, you're better off just developing some good hobbies and a nice personality. Like, I'm just telling you. And that's kind of the key thing here. This aesthetic has a cultural language, a cultural cachet. It has developed to mean something to people upon visualization. And for the most part, and this may be me projecting my own like sense of quality and belief in myself, if you see a black guy that looks like he works at GameStop, he's probably one of the coolest, chill, trustworthy dudes you might run into. Let's just keep it a buck. I look like a black male teacher. I look like a black male teacher that you like. That's literally part of the reason why I'm successful on YouTube. I didn't know that going in, mind you. I just happen to look like this because this is also a look I aspired to growing up, because the like chill, wise black man in my life kind of had this aesthetic as well. And I want to be clear, this isn't just chubby black dudes with locks. This is actually part of a long tradition of black men rejecting the standard aesthetics that we've been given, but with a nerdy twist. So along with locks, there's of course the classic septum ring that's really popular right now, and tattoos all over the place. There's that whole wave of alternative black fashion that came out of Afropunk. And I even saw a rapper the other day with wicks in the shape of Goku's hair from Dragon Ball Z. And that's not even considering what guys like Lil Uzi Vert were doing years ago. Like, when we're talking about aesthetics and looks, it's not just this looks good, but that this means something out in the world. This conveys a message about identity and personality and values based solely on the look. It's not perfect. The aesthetic and the actual values don't always match, but the fact that there's so many men looking like this emerging in your social media should tell you something more than just niggas with patchy beards are all over the internet. Like, that's also true, but it also means we're having a moment. While on the topic of nerds, let me talk about one of my favorite, Jacob Geller. Geller is one of a few top tier creators on YouTube talking about gaming in an in-depth and analytical way. This isn't just reviews or reactions, but people who treat video games like the complex and deep medium they are. He's a big channel, and if you've seen me, you've probably seen him once or twice, considering that he has well over 1 million subscribers. But I bet a lot of those subscribers don't know that Jacob Geller has literally another 30 plus gaming videos that you can only see on our streaming service, Nebula. Yes, Jacob is part of Nebula's prolific collection of nerds talking about video games, which includes H. Barma Guy, Extra Credits, Liam Triforce, Anita Sarkeesian, T1J, and to a lesser extent myself. We have the market cornered for nerds on Nebula. For those who don't know, Nebula is the independent streaming service created by YouTubers like me to be a home away from the draconian laws and restrictions of YouTube. Sometimes YouTube decides your language is too spicy, or this image of a gun is too violent, or this topic is too controversial. So they demonetize whatever it is you make, meaning that you make no money off of it. Sometimes because you use 11 seconds of a song or a movie instead of 10, they will allow a studio to take every part of your AdSense. And sometimes you get past all of that and the algorithm just decides, you know what, your video, nobody's gonna see it. And that's just part of the game, but it's something I don't really worry about because I know Nebula has my back. But more than having my back, the new thing that Nebula has been doing lately is providing guidance for some of the best creators on YouTube to expand beyond just making videos in our basements. Nebula has been expanding more and more into original content with bigger and better budgets to expand on the talents of some of your favorite creators in a variety of ways. There's the surrealist adventure Night of the Coconut, or if movies aren't your thing, something I've never mentioned before is that Nebula has hundreds of hours of original podcasts on music, travel, interviews of creators, and also the new audio cinema experience, Faithless. And this is all happening independently. Nebula isn't owned by Google or any major media entity. We have no fear that our CEO is going to end up going to a meeting with Donald Trump and switch up on us for big tech dollars. This is all made by creators like me, benefiting creators like me because of viewers like you. So help us continue with this evolution. Please use my promo code FD Signifier to sign up for a full year of Nebula for 40% off using the link in the description or following the QR code on the screen. You'll be supporting the growth, not just of my channel, but creators like me to continue to go beyond the limitations of YouTube and modern media as a whole. Thank you so much for watching this long. Thank you to Nebula for sponsoring the video. I'm FD Signifier, and this has been Light Work.